Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Dr. Unati, your host here at Dr. M Health Corner Talk Show. I am here today alone. It's a different show, solo show, but you know what? We're going to have an interactive discussion. Hello, hello. I see people are coming on. Hello, it's a Saturday here in Calgary, Canada. And let me know if you can hear me. Please type a yes there so that we can communicate better. Let me know. I just want to give a background of what we are about. Basically, I am a family physician. I am big with disease prevention, advocacy, and of course, mental health expert. I bring all these healthcare thought leaders, global community of these amazing colleagues that come join me. And basically, I pick their brains and they teach us, and we leave this place transformed. So that's all it is. And of course, I bring people from all walks of life, psychologists, social workers, scientists, psych, all specialists in the medical field. And of course, people with lived experiences. I love that. I love that diversity. So let me know. I can see people are telling me that they can hear me. Thank you, Dr. Tao. Thank you, girlfriend, for joining me. So basically, today our conversation is going to be interactive. If you have any questions, I want this to be as interactive, raw, and beautiful. Okay. We're discussing, as you can see on our screen today, we are discussing aftermath of parental alienation syndrome. We're going to take a deep dive on this discussion, guys, because it's an emergency. It's a medical emergency. It is underdiagnosed. That's why today I felt we need to talk about it interactively. So please join me in this conversation. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you have experienced, if you have, and what did you do to come out of it. Okay. Again, thank you so much. We are a community here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Unfortunately, LinkedIn family, I'm unable to pull up your comments right away, so I'll be able to do so after the show. My apologies, it's just a StreamYard LinkedIn issue. Basically they don't allow it, but otherwise Facebook and and YouTube, they are able to see what we're talking about, and I'll be able to pull up your comments. Again, let's get on it. What is parental alienation syndrome? Okay, so listen, as a family dog, I get to see this probably twice a month, or probably at least in 6 months I do see maybe 3 or 4 people experiencing this, or who experienced this in their childhood, or victims, meaning that the other parent who is alienated, I get to see them all the time. And this actually affects both, both parents, the father and the mother. We're going to talk more about how it goes. So let's do this. It's basically in three folds. It's basically the parent who is the alienator, and of course the parent who's being alienated, right? The victim here, and of course the child or the children. All right. So I always say the parent who is the victim, who's alienated, and the kids or the child are the ones that are victims here. Okay. And basically, back in the 1980s, one of the colleagues says, psychiatrist Dr. Gardner noticed this. It was a trend, and unfortunately, I'm going to say this. I hope mothers are here, and I'm hoping if you have friends that are in the legal fraternity, please invite them to come up here, because I would like to hear their thoughts. This is a family thing, this is a family court thing. So I really would love to hear their thoughts and also to see how they are handling this. As I said in the beginning, this is an emergency, medical emergency, which is underdiagnosed. Basically, parental alienation syndrome, one parent speaks ill of the other parent to the kid or to the kids. What does that mean? Basically, it happens a lot in divorce situations or separation, where you have these two kids or one child or whatever number of kids you have. So this one parent who has a narcissistic behavior, or either antisocial personality behavior, or either borderline personality traits or disorder, these type of parents, unfortunately, they have very powerful power to dominate in the relationship. So what they do when they are bitter, or when they are fighting the other parent, they use the children. against that parent. And remember, as a parent, you love your children, all right? So you can imagine suddenly you had a beautiful relationship with your children, and suddenly they don't want to see you anymore. They believe that you are the most horrible person on earth. Can you imagine? And of course, they don't want anything to do with you. And sometimes it even extends to extended family members, meaning the grandparents of that side that is alienated. Guys, this is very ugly. We get to see these children presenting with depressive symptoms, with anxiety, with drug abuse as young as 12, because they are frustrated. Remember, these children had these both parents, they loved them, all right? And suddenly they are forced to hate the other parent. And you know what? The alienating parent has so much power that they convince the kids that indeed your mother or your father is the most horrible person. They even create stories. They even create stories. They will talk about, probably, I've had patients telling me that, even my kids, they even believe that I cheated on their father or I cheated on their mother. I do drugs, I do prostitution, all sorts of things, horrible things that are socially unacceptable. So children believe that. And remember this, our brains mature at 25 to 27 years. So imagine when you are manipulated, you are captured, because this is in a form of abuse, right? You are captured, imagine yourself as a 6-year-old, as a 10-year-old, mandated to hate your mother or your father by the other parent. You are caught in between. And remember this, our brains at that age are immature, they are underdeveloped, and basically our judgment is poor because our brains are not mature, right? So you believe whatever is basically told to you, right? So that's what happens. So these poor little kids believe whatever the father or the mother tells them. Your father or your mother is the most horrible person. He you know what, sometimes at some point, mostly the women, because usually it's them on the stats, women are seen to be the ones that do this a lot, because when there's divorce or there's separation, usually the court system usually lets the mother stay with the children. Okay, so that's what happens. So when this mother is looking for financial gain, will use every power she has to speak ill of her ex, or sometimes will do so to manipulate the ex to get more money from him. It gets that serious. If you want to see your children, I know the court said, give me $10,000. If you want to see your kids, I want 15,000. And if you are not complying, they speak ill of you to the child or to the kids. It gets horrible, guys. And now, unfortunately, children believe this. They believe it, and it goes beyond. Like I said, even the grandparents, children don't want to go there anymore. They hate their parents, I mean, their mother or their father, that they don't even want to do anything to do with the other side of the family. It's sad. And the sad part, most of the times, like I said in the beginning, the alienating parent is the one that suffers mental health struggles. This person has narcissistic features. They are very intelligent, they are very manipulative, they manipulate the system, the court system. And unfortunately, they are believed. Their lies, they thrive in their lies. And you know what? If they are financially stable, unfortunately, the other parent becomes paralyzed. What are you going to fight? If this person has the money to fight the court and has the lawyers, the powerful lawyers in your city or in your town, what are you going to fight there? So they use the power they have. They have powerful money, they have powerful connections to fight you, right? So this becomes very toxic. As like I said, even if the kids go to you as the alienated parent, they can't wait to leave you. They will tell you right to your face that they hate you. Guys, I've had parents telling me that my daughter told me that she doesn't want anything to do with me. I'm a cruel person, I'm evil, and they come up with all these lies their father or their mother told them. All right, I would like to hear your thoughts, you guys, because this is a serious matter and I'm not sure why it has not made a formal diagnosis on the mental health or DSM 5 diagnosis because this is a serious matter. Imagine you are told to hate your mother. Imagine you are told to hate your father. You do not have any other father. You do not have any other mother. It becomes more complicated. Listen to this. It becomes more complicated when this parent who is alienating gets married and suddenly wants to have the step mother or stepfather for these kids. They don't want anything to do with you because now there's this new stepmother, there's this new stepdad that is taking over your role. Is it natural? And unfortunately, if that parent is immature or lacks emotional intelligence, she plays or he plays along. I want us, guys, when we leave here, to think about it. If you were in that person's shoes, someone doing that to you, because a lot of times it happens in the first year or 2 years of that new marriage. This new wife or this new husband assumes the role and suddenly promotes this behavior in the spouse for these kids to hate their mother and the father. Think about it. If you were in this alienated parents' shoes, I want us to leave this place matured, because sometimes we could be kidults. Do you know that? We could be adults, but kids in adult bodies. I want you, if you are doing this, I just want you to think about it. If it could happen to you, if it could happen to your brother, if it could happen to your sister. And you know what? The parent who is alienated, or even the children, because this is unnatural, guys. It is unnatural. The children come to us as young as 10, 12 year olds. They cannot sleep because they have no peace. They are depressed. Do you know what they do? They find solace in drugs. That's why we see sometimes teenage pregnancies, right? We see children escaping from even where they are staying with the alienating parent because it's too much stress, it's too much pressure. They are not coping. Their self-esteem goes down. They don't know who they are because they have an over domineering parent who has basically no character. Narcissism, guys, it's a mental health illness. And unfortunately, it's the most difficult conditions we are faced with that has no cure. It needs self-awareness. So before I beat the person who's narcissistic, the parent who's alienating, I want us to actually go back and look at why do they behave. You're probably asking yourself, why is this person narcissistic? A lot of times there's childhood trauma there. This person had traumatic experience as a child, either was also raised by narcissistic parents. So that's why I always say, as parents, we need to be mindful. As we are brought into this world with these little kids, these angels, we need to be mindful what we tell them, what we do in front of them, and what we say. All right? Unfortunately, these parents, they copy their parents or whoever was their caregiver. So there's a lot of trauma background there, unfortunately. And because that's the template they were given as children. So they show up to the world like that. And if you look at the previous slides I showed here, I said if we do not heal from our traumas, trauma is just buried for a few years, if I can say, but it shows up in other elements of our lives. It shows up in our parenting. It shows up in our relationships with our spouses, with our partners, in our friendships, in the workplace. It shows up holistically. You find that people, they feel that I could never stand so and so, right? And it's all not your fault. You did not choose your background. You did not choose your parents. You did not choose who raised you. You did not choose your caregivers. So I want us to also give some grace to the people who have these narcissistic features because they were failed as kids. But again, it's our responsibility to reparent ourselves. If we all know there was trauma in our lives, we need to go back there to those stories. Those stories are painful to go back to. Those stories are yucky. Those stories, you don't want to go back there. But unfortunately, they show up in your life. You wonder why you have a relationship. You cannot hold relationships, even platonic relationships. Friends cannot stand you. You are either a clingy person if you happen to have the borderline personality features. You are clingy. You are an expansive person. You are labile. Your mood, it could never be predicted by your friends. even your partner. All right. So these are the issues that we don't choose as children. We don't choose our backgrounds. We don't choose our families, where we're going to be born to, but we choose the future we want to have. We choose the adulthood we want to have. We have to go back to those stories and reparent ourselves, right? So that we can have healthy relationships with other people. So that's basically the background of people who are alienating. They have that background of trauma. And until they realize that trauma, until they accept their past, as painful as it was, or as painful as it is, to accept this happened to me, but it happened for me to grow from it, right? We need to start having post traumatic success stories. We cannot stay in our traumatic backgrounds and lament and feel sorry for ourselves. At the end of the day, we need to move on, because if we're going to come to this world and want to be parents and want to have partners, because each one of us, it's a nature of humans. We want to belong, we want to be heard, we want to be loved. How are you going to be loved if you have a stinking attitude or stinking background of pain and also trauma instilling to other people? And not to say that people cannot love you. Yes, people will love you. But remember, in this world is cruel. People, they want it comfortable around them. You understand? So it's important. It's our responsibility to go back to those stories, guys. It's a long journey. To heal from trauma, it's not just a one episode circumstance. It's a long journey. You identify with a therapist that has a background in trauma, because your brain needs to be rewired. What you know needs to be re-templated, if there's such a word. You need a new template. All right? You need a new ways. You need new ways of looking at life so that you can enjoy life. And the sad part is the alienating parent, they are not happy with themselves. You find that they abuse drugs. If it's men, they are womanizers, right? They are addicted to sex. They are addicted. They are aggressive. They are gender-based violence is quite common. Yeah, in the relationships they have. Even at work, there are bosses that are very manipulative. People leave work. When they work with them, they could never retain staff because people cannot stand them. They are feared by their staff, by their juniors, even feared by their own co-workers, right? So now let's go back to the children. Like I said, kids come to us presenting with depressive symptoms. They are lost. They feel lost. They have no purpose in life. They are confused between the two worlds. They are alienating parent and the parent that they have to hate. You can imagine an 80-year-old hating the other parent, telling her right to her face or to his face, I hate you. You are the most horrible and cruel, evil person on earth. Imagine the 7 billion people in this earth, your child tells you are the most horrible person. These things happen to these kids. And we see them struggling with anxiety, with depression. Some, they find themselves in wrong gangs. They become bullies. You know, they abuse drugs, right? And remember, the alienating parent becomes so manipulative. They use things like money. If you want to manipulate children, use material, right? They use materialistic things. They use money, right? They over compliment these children who are already struggling, and now these kids have this abundance of money. What do they do with that money? Drugs, alcohol, all these things. So I want us to be mindful. And of course, I'm going to get to the alienated parent. What do you do? Of course, they come to us. They struggle a lot with mental health struggles, the depression, suicidal thoughts. They see there's no purpose of living. There's no purpose of living. What's the point of being here, doc? That's what they tell us when they come to us. What's the point of being here? The kids I loved, I still love, don't want to see my face anymore. They don't want me in front of them. They hate me. They don't want anything to do with me. What's the point of being here? This is the time we see suicides, suicidal thoughts, right? We see alcoholism, we see drug abuse, right? So I want us, when we see these people struggling with all these things, we need to exercise compassion and start asking what happened to you. Not to say what's wrong with you. What happened to you? We need to be a society that asks those type of questions. What happened to you? We need to learn to listen to people's stories. We need to start listening to people's stories because people are struggling. And this goes beyond mental health. It also affects their physical health. They have high blood pressure. You wonder, why is your blood pressure so high? Doc, I'm stressed. I don't sleep. I don't sleep. And when you have poor sleep, unfortunately, it affects your blood pressure. You find that they have gained weight because you know what? This also becomes hormonal. Their cortisol level, which is our highest stress level, stress hormone, it's high. They gain weight, they become obese, and they feel bad about themselves. Now, there's also another risk. You become obese, you have high risk now of developing hypertension, high blood pressure. You have high risk now of developing high cholesterol. You have high risk of developing heart attacks. You have high risk of developing diabetes. This is serious, guys. It's very serious. Like I said, it needs awakened society. It needs an awakened family court that will listen to stories with open heart and open eyes. Unfortunately, the alienating parents, they usually win in courts. If right now you are in the legal system, I invite you to open your eyes. Open your eyes to this. This is a medical emergency. We feel tied as people that get to see these parents because it all depends on the legal system they are dealing with. Exercise your caution, exercise your emotional intelligence, listen to all stories, listen to collateral information. It's very important. And unfortunately, the court system drags these type of cases. The alienating parents, they thrive because it takes forever. Exercise your caution, exercise your humanity, exercise your godliness in you. All of us are godly. Exercise that. Listen to that alienated parent. Listen to those kids that are dead inside. They're dead because it's not natural. And it doesn't matter, the alienating parent could bring the most loving step parent to these kids. It's not the same. It's not the same. Their mother, their father is alive. He has or she has to be in their lives. Give them that opportunity. I am begging right now, the court system, give these parents opportunity to give the best life and experience to their children. They can only rely to you, on you, to have that judgment for them. They have no they have no power to do all of this. They need family courts that are sensitive, that are able to listen to their story with sensitivity, with compassion, with love. If you're a parent here and you're in the legal system, take it and weigh it in your shoes and imagine if your own children didn't want to see your face in this earth, how would you feel? So I would like you, when you go to those court rooms and you are faced with such cases, exercise this. Remember this conversation we are having today, that these children are damaged forever if no one saves them. And in this case, the court system becomes the parent that could make better decisions for these children. We can be a better society when we are empowered. How do we get empowered? When we are empowered parents, we empower children, and these children become empowered society. This world would be a better place if you are in place of power. This is how I look at life. If I'm in a place of power, I exercise it with caution, with intelligence, with emotional intelligence, so that the next person I impact is left, I leave him or her as a better person. All right. So I beg, I plead to all the people that are in the legal system here, listen to that alienated parent. They don't have enough sleep. There's a lot of money involved. And it's even more painful when they are fighting an opponent with more money. And you know what? I need not to forget the therapists involved. The sad part is the system, sometimes the legal system allows the alienating parent to choose the psychologist these kids have to see. That's the biggest mistake that happens because unfortunately we've seen therapists used by the alienating parent to even worsen the situation in the children. That's right. And sometimes it even extends to schools. This is a societal issue. The alienating parent speaks ill of the other parent, even to the school teachers of these children or of this child. So now you have an army against you as the parent who's alienated. You have the psychologists who basically gaslight your children to see you as this bad person they are told you are. You have teachers who exercise no emotional intelligence to believe the stories by not doing further investigations in the stories the alienating parent has against you. You have also sometimes even the parents of your ex against you. You have so much against you. It's tough. It's tough, guys. So I would like people who happen to be in the psychology world, in the social work world, use your caution when you listen to these stories. And again, the court system, like I said, you become the mother or the father of these children. Choose wisely for these children. Choose wisely a neutral psychotherapist to deal with this. To deal with this. It cannot be chosen by the alienating parent. This is a biased situation. It cannot. Teachers, use your caution. Use your mother instinct. Use your motherly instinct to listen to these kids' stories and to these parents that are alienated. Remember, the alienated parent is just powerless. She's powerless or he's powerless. All right? Guys, this is a topic I'm very passionate about because it's very underdiagnosed and people suffer every day, daily with it. And you know what we do as a society? We judge these people. You judge your colleague who comes to work drunk or who doesn't show up. Have you ever taken time and asked, what is in your life? What's going on in your life? These people sometimes they don't sleep the whole night. I had one of my clients, one of my parents told me that, Doc, I don't sleep. I don't sleep. To go to bed, I have to have a bottle of gin to sleep. I cannot sleep. All right? It's a very sad situation. Some of them, they even lose their jobs. Their CEOs, their immediate supervisors have never taken time to ask, how are you doing? How are you doing? You're not showing up to work. You're not showing up. You're coming here, you submit a lot of sick notes. Have you ever taken that time as a coworker to ask that guy, that woman who seems so lonely in that little corner, who isolates? Have you ever taken that time to ask, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Instead, they are handed resignation letters. They are fired. No one ever asked if they are alcoholics. No one ever went into their employee assistance programs to help this person and ask, how are you doing? In your corporation, in your business, do you have such EAP programs for these type of people or for your staff in general? Right now, we are going through hard times, the pandemic, where we saw breakdown of relationships, breakdown of families. Children are unfortunately the victims of that. Have you ever taken that time in your organization to bring that service? Or are you only concerned about the productivity, the production, right? The gains for your organization? Have you ever taken time to look at your staff or ask, how are they doing? Have you taken that time? That mindfulness, that mindfulness of asking, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are your kids doing? Some parents, they haven't seen their children for years and they live in the same city. They live in the same city. They live in the same town. I've seen that. Right? So it's a very sad situation. And I would like us, as we leave this place, to start thinking about that colleague that is isolating. Start thinking and ask, how are you doing? When was the last time you saw your daughter, your son? How is she? How is he doing? All right? I want us to leave this place with that compassion of asking. Recently I had this patient who called me back and said, thank you for checking on me. Nowadays we also talking on the phone with our with our patients. And I said, what's going on? She was calling, I was missing the calls, and I called back and she said, thank you for checking on me. This is a patient who's dying of cancer. People, that's all they need. They want someone who's going to hear them and listen to them and show that love and compassion, right? Something that is so rare nowadays. That's all people want to hear. Just ask that colleague, how are you doing? Instead of judging or talking about him or her behind their backs. Have you wondered why they abuse alcohol? Have you wondered why they change partners? Have you wondered why they do drugs? Have you wondered why they change from one job to the other? Have you ever wondered about that kind of stuff? Right? When was the last time you saw them with their kids? When was the last time they spoke about their children to you? When you sit at your lunch desk, when was the last time they talk about them? These are the things we need to start becoming mindful of, right? These people are facing giants in their lives, all right? They are facing giants in their lives, all right? And I send love and compassion to those kids that become victims of this, because unfortunately, this trauma stays with them and it extends to their adulthood. They again choose partners like their alienating parents, like their father or their mothers. They're attracted to what they know. They choose abusive partners because that's all they know. They don't know peace. It becomes recurring, it becomes generational until we break it. How do we break it? By awareness, self awareness, and willingness to heal. All right? It becomes extensive. And of course, they do it to their children sometimes. Like I said, it becomes their template. This is the template they are given by the manipulative parent, right? So it's never late to change. If you are that parent, you are watching me, it's never late to change. If you know you had traumatic background, traumatic childhood, this is your opportunity to open your eyes. This is an opportunity to have this aha moment that the behavior you are exhibiting right today, it's the background you never chose as a child. All right? It's the background you never chose, but today it's your choice to become a better adult. How do you do that? By being vulnerable. Go back to those stories. And I also hear that power of forgiveness. Forgive your parents. They probably showed up the way they were raised. Like I said, guys, it becomes a generational trauma. This is a generational trauma. You know, sometimes we see people normalizing that, oh, his uncle was like that, or her uncle was like that, or her aunt was like that. No, it was trauma. It's not genetic, it was trauma. We are all born pure and loving. We are all born pure and loving. Trauma happens to us. Something happens to us. I've learned over the last few years, I've learned to use the word what happened to you, not what's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any one of us. Nothing wrong with any one of us. Something happened to us. Something happened to us. So the awareness is the most beautiful thing you can ever do for yourself so that you can live an empowered, fulfilled, happy, joyous life. As I close, I'm going to pull up your comments and thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. This is a topic that's very heartbreaking to me because I get to see these kids, I get to see these alienated parents, and indeed, sometimes we can only do what we can in our medical rooms. That's why I said we need to have honest family courts. We need to have honest psychotherapists. We need to have honest teachers and principals. You know, we need to have such a society so that we can be an empowered nation. All right? Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I love you. Come back here. If you are not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Share this with your family, share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends. All right? Subscribe. I bring all these amazing speakers to come and enlighten us. And of course, I too take days like this to come and pour my heart and share my thoughts in the things I see. I get to be fortunate to listen to people's stories, to vulnerable stories. I get to be that shoulder to cry to these people because I'm fortunate in the work I do. I create that safe pad, that safe space for them to be and to start their healing. Be that safe pad. Be that safe pad when you have that colleague, that partner, that friend. Exercise your compassion. Nothing beats, someone said here, humanity, ubuntu. In our language, in my language, I'm Xhosa, I'm South African. We say umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. I am because of you. That's a very powerful phenomenon. Exercise that, guys. We can be this beautiful place and with beautiful people if we start feeling and being compassionate, right? And being sympathetic, empathetic. This world would be a beautiful place. All right? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My friends here, I see someone says, yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Um, and of course, someone was watching from the UK. That's my beautiful cousin there, my sister Lumka. Thank you. And Snozugu, you have a point there. Una, thank you, Sisi. And Snozugu is a social worker. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. And Lulu says, valid point. My beloved sister here says, your topics are always refreshing. Thank you. Always relatable, right? She's in the court case. She understands exactly. She's in the court space. The kids need love. If you can master this, everything will be a bonus. Absolutely, sis. Show them love. And of course, Audra is giving me a compliment. Thank you so much. Saga says, hey, dog, if only we could take time to understand things before we jump into conclusions. Thanks, man, for these sessions. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pudi. You know, these sessions, guys, I get to bring them to you because, like I said, it's very humbling to be in the space of medical field or psychology field because you get to hear people's stories, raw stories, where people they come there and trusting us, right? So it is our responsibility to exercise that confidentiality, that safety, that understanding, and that healing. We can only be those healing pads. So be that healing pad. We can only shine in our corners. It doesn't matter. We are all leaders. I always say this. We are all leaders. Lead in the space you are. The children that are placed in your life, be that shining arm on them because we are building tomorrow's leaders here. All right? The kids that are placed in your life, see that child that is distant. See that child that is isolating if you are a teacher. See that child that has a different behavior in your class. Sit down with that child. He or she might be struggling, fighting demons in his head. He or she cannot solve. All right? Thank you so much, guys. I am so blessed to have you as this community. Come back here next week. I bring all these amazing speakers, these teachers, I call them my teachers, to come and teach us, enlighten us, empower us. Every time I come to this space, I'm a renewed soul because I open my heart to learning from these people and learning from your comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. God bless. Take care.